Hi everyone, this is Morgan, and in this next video, this is the second that walks you through Process Journal 1 for the Fruit and Color project. I'm going to finish up searching for images and then start to build my actual Journal 1 piece in Photoshop. So you can see kind of Martha Stewart style, I finished up what I had been working on in the first video. If you look here on my desktop, I have a folder just labeled strawberries, and if I click on it, I've done what I sort of recommend most of you do, and just create obviously 12 images, find 12 images, 2 from each category. So I have 2 flowers, I have 2 halves, I have 2 multiples, etc., etc. And as I'm going through, I'm double checking that I got images that are, again, at least 400 pixels wide. So it's looking like I did a pretty good job. For a few of them, I did have to grab a screenshot instead of pulling the actual image. I'll walk you through how to do that. I found this image that is that you would have to pay for to get the royalties to. Since we're tracing these, I feel like there's no real guilt in kind of stealing a screenshot of 1 or 2 of them. So if I liked this one, it won't let me download it because it's a stock image. I'm on a Mac. I'm just going to press Command-Shift-4, and then I'll just click and drag what part of the image I want to take. And the process is a little different on a PC, but you can just look up how to do a screen capture. It's pretty simple. So if you need to do that for 1 or 2 of them, again, that's not an issue. So now I have all of my files compiled. I'm going to open Photoshop, and from here I'm going to click Create New. So within Create New, I'm just going to label this maybe Journal 1. And I'm going to start by setting the width and height. So right now it's set to measure in pixels. I'm going to switch that right over to inches. And I'd like this to be 11 inches wide, 8.5 inches high. And that's just so it can print off if you're able to print on copy paper, regular copy paper. And I'm going to set the resolution at 240. So I'll get a nice, like pretty decently high resolution. So everything else looks good. RGB color, 8-bit, a white background, and then I'm just going to hit create. So now I've basically just created a blank slate for myself. So I might drag my Photoshop in just a little bit. So I'll just start by dragging in strawberry files and organizing them. So again, I have, at this point, more than 12 unique images. I have 13. But I'll just start by dragging in the first one. And it's pretty darn big. It doesn't need to be this big. I'm just, for the sake of the demo, going to have some files that I let stay pretty big. So I'll probably need to do 2 kind of source pieces for Journal 1, and I'll walk you through that. But I'm going to size it down. I'll just click and drag and plop it wherever I want it. So whenever you're happy with it, you can hit return or hit the check. Just so you know, if you ever want to go back in and change the size, you need to select your Move tool, and that's the top tool in your toolbar, and make sure that Show Transform Controls is checked. When I uncheck it, you can see my bounding box goes away. If I recheck it, I can more easily edit that file. So if I just want to make the 3 distinct size variations from this, it's pretty easy. I automatically have my layers panel open, but you can always go to Window, Layers to pull it back up. And with this selected, I'm just going to press my Command and J buttons. So J is in jeans. And immediately you can see I've created a copy layer. That's what this is. And if I drag it away, I'll see I've made 2 distinct files. And what's nice is I got this from a site that had edited out the background, so I already have the image isolated, which makes it's going to make this next part easier. So to make a size variation, I'll just drag in. I started with the biggest file I would want, and that's a good rule of thumb. And when I like the size of that, I'll hit return. And then I'm going to do Command J click and drag, and now I'll make a pretty darn small one. And I'll see where I can fit it. Maybe I'll put it here. So 3 to 5 is a good rule of thumb. You don't want to cheat yourself out of having a couple really large files and a couple really small files. So I'll show you another way to approach this. We just look through my files, I have a lot that are pretty simple backgrounds. I wanted to set myself up really well. I wanted to make my life kind of easy when it came to the tracing stage. How about we take this screenshot I just did, and I'm going to, instead of dropping this here in my Photoshop workspace, I'm going to drag it into the Photoshop icon. And when you drag an image into the Photoshop icon, you open it in its own unique tab. So here you can see I'm in the tab where my screenshot that I just did with all of you is open, but I can easily flip over to this Journal 1 document I'm working on. So over here, right now, my image consists of, the actual plant and the leaves, but also this white background. So I'm going to go over to my toolbar and select the Magic Wand tool. So for me, this is open. Some of you might be looking at your toolbar and going, I don't see a magic wand. If you click and hold on the 4th tool down, you should be able to see that Photoshop has this unfortunate thing where some tools are hiding behind others. So the icon you're seeing might be this object selection tool or the quick selection tool. So you might need to hunt for the magic wand tool, but it will be there. So with this really simple background, I think Photoshop will do a good job of just isolating the strawberry. And I'll make my workspace a little smaller just so you can see this a little bit more clearly. With the magic wand selected, I have this options bar that is specific to the magic wand tool. So I'm going to hit select subject. And if you're paying close attention, you'll see these marching ants appeared all around the image. And it did a really, really good job. So only the stuff I care about is selected now. So with that in mind, I'm going to go to the bottom of my layers panel. And whenever I give this demo, I always say it looks kind of like a black and white Japanese flag. But the icon you're looking for is to add a layer mask. And if you hover over it, it will say add layer mask. So I'm going to click on that. And you'll see I now just have a transparent background. So I'm just going to click on the tab, pull it out just a smidge so I can see both my screenshot and the document at the same time. And now I'm just going to drag this in. So now I have a nice transparent background. It is totally fine, by the way, to just stack images on top of each other and not add this layer mask. This is just if it makes it easier for you to fit things on a page. If we go back to this strawberry file, there's no problem with you just dumping this here with the white background. It just simplifies things a bit if you don't have to navigate around parts of the image that aren't important to you.